Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go with them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, going to go a story titled, Vindictive Ex-Wife Illegally Signed Application to Local HOA in My Name. And big shout out to Matt for sending me this story. And guys, this story is about a guy who divorces his wife because he found out that she was cheating on him with not one, not two, but 3 different dudes. And gets pregnant by one of them. And clearly there's probably more lovers than that. And let's just say she didn't take it too well. And then tried to cause all sorts of drama and turmoil in his life. And by ultimately forging documents to make him sign up for some HOA, Homeowners Association, with a new house he purchased, which caused all sorts of drama and turmoil in his life. Them trying to get money out of him, blah, blah, blah. And let me tell you, it's a big mess. She committed fraud. However, justice eventually is served, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about, and this guy will have the last laugh. And I'm going to go over here, guys, just to show you the lengths that some people will go, because men are guilty of shit like this too, to get revenge, and how if you try to do something illegal, it can come back to bite you in the butt, and even cause you prison time. And I might add that this story is 2 parts. It's all in the same video, so don't worry, guys, you're going to get this all in one video. The first part started off 2 years ago, and the part 2, what happens afterwards, the justice, happened just a few months ago. So I think you'll definitely enjoy this one. And by the way, any of you guys that live in an HOA, a homeowners association, know darn well that there could be some absolute tyrants on the board. And some people live in nice ones, and other ones, oh God. So you'll appreciate this. It says here, I'll start this off by saying my ex is vindictive as hell. We've been fully divorced since right about before the pandemic started. We sold the house we shared, and I didn't have to pay her alimony because she cheated and we're in an at-fault divorce state. It was messy since D-Day. Well, thank God they were in an at-fault state. All the stereotypes, first the sobbing, and then the trickle truth saying, I love you, it was just one time, okay, it was 2 years, and then the gaslighting followed by, I'm going to take you for everything, before packing her crap and walking out. I feel like I never really knew the woman my ex was in all the time we were together. We were married 5 years and together for 7. And in 2 of those 5 married years, she had affairs with 3 men. The final one being a foreign businessman of some sort, from what I found out. So there you go. 5 years they're married, 3 different affairs of what he knows about. There could have been, there's the 3 affairs, and then there could have been just like one-nighters and hookups and who knows what. No joke. And of course he got the stereotypical I'm so sorry and the trickle truth, and it was, and just, you know, no surprise. And then now he's the bad guy. He says, yes, I got an STD test and thankfully negative. Yes, she got pregnant by the final affair partner, and no, I didn't sign the birth certificate because I found out about all the affairs before the baby was born, thanks to a call from the first affair partner. Her first affair partner ratted her out. Hilarious. Maybe she made him think that he was her boyfriend, then he found out. Who knows? My ex tried to go full scorched earth on me. Why would she go scorched earth? How are you the bad guy in all this? But since we live in and are married in an at-fault state, she lost. We didn't pay equally into our house, and the equity was divided up 70-30. So I got a pretty good cash payout when I sold our marital home to put as a down payment on a different house closer to my job. It's a bit of a downgrade, but suits a single guy in his 30s just like me fine. My ex did show up to my house one time, but I refused to let her in. Very smart, bro. She bitched at me that I'd financially ruined her in the divorce. Who ruined the marriage? Who caused the divorce? The gal that cheated on him 3 times and got pregnant with the affair partner. How's he the bad guy, really? I said that if she was fully willing to do that to me first, and then bitch had the audacity to say that it should have been my life effed over and not hers. I laughed so hard and said it was karma. It is karma. But you know what? She's going to get her revenge. Temporarily. She yelled that she'd sue me for what was rightfully hers. I said if she was going to sue me, then go ahead and sue me. It ended up the same way in court because she has nothing but a false sob story. She was the cheater, not me. I'm no angel, but I didn't do anything to her. And she was the one that ruined our marriage. She then said that she'd tell everyone that she could that I abused her. I said I would sue her for defamation if she did. And I was recording our interaction and had those words saved to my phone. Very smart. Very, very smart. The second she was at the door, immediately pull out the phone, record. Right there. Gonna make up a bunch of stuff to get this guy. It's amazing. I mean, anybody that goes through a bad breakup or divorce, guys, it is worth it to have some surveillance equipment at your house. As long as it's, you follow the laws of the land, that type of thing. But good Lord. She then went wide-eyed and her jaw dropped. The look people are calling the surprised Pikachu face. Then I asked her why was she there, if not to just try and make trouble. Because she had a new man in her life that knocked her up. She just huffed at me and said he isn't around much, and she's stuck in a tiny apartment living off his child support till he comes back. Oh, imagine that. Her Shadow Tyrone lover left her all alone with a baby. Imagine that. It was immature of me, I know, but I did the bit of playing the world's smallest violin. Bro, she's making all this trouble for you. You have a right to poke her and prod her a little bit. She yelled at me to go F myself, and I yelled back that I'd sooner do that than her any time. She raised at me and then got in her car to leave. Haven't seen her since. So, you think that's the end of her? Nope. He says, there's an HOA in my neighborhood, homeowners association, guys. But I was not legally obligated to join it because the last owner of my house was not a member. I made sure of that through a real estate lawyer as well. The HOA had no grounds to force me to join and were not happy about it. The HOA president would show up with forms every week for the first month demanding that I sign them. Then she threatened to take me to court, to which I had to get a cease and desist sent to her from my lawyer to make her stop that. This guy's lawyer is getting a lot of business to the turmoil in his life. Being harassed by the HOA president. Many tyrants get on these boards. So she started harassing by looking for any infraction she possibly could report to the city. An inspector came out several times and found nothing wrong. In fact, I offered him a burger while grilling, and they graciously accepted. Did I mention the HOA hates barbecues and parties that aren't approved in advance? Well, they do. And I like to grill when the weather is good. And my neighbors actually love me because I invite them over. Well, if your house is not part of the HOA, then you don't need to pay dues or participate in their rules. So if you want to have if you want to grill in your backyard and you're not blaring your music or having a big party, anything like that, but this woman wants to make trouble for you. I had the police call to me several times for noise complaints because I was playing music on a Saturday afternoon while having my friends over. Well, if the noise levels were too loud, then that's one thing. But if it was just very quiet, that's something else. The HOA president I caught trespassing once when she was trying to peer into my windows. She's on your property looking through your freaking windows. Video camera surveillance. Psycho. So I called the police, but she denied ever doing that, so I got cameras. She hasn't trespassed since, but I still got repeated passive-aggressive letters saying my cameras were not approved addition to my house. Well, again, he's not in the HOA. Several months ago, I started getting letters for fines in the mail, and when I contacted the HOA, the representative claimed that they had it on record that I had joined, and I need to pay all the fees effective immediately. I told them that was not possible. Then they emailed me a scanned copy of all the forms, and they had a signature on them. Well, that's strange, because he certainly wouldn't join these bunch of assholes. But it was not mine. It was very similar in some ways, and I'd recognized right away as being my ex-wife's handwriting. She knew what my signature looked like, but it was a loose imitation at best. So she falsified documents saying she was him, signing up for the HOA, and now they're coming after him for all this money that he owes. That's fraud, and if she put a stamp on it and put it in the mail, I believe that's mail fraud. I got in touch with my lawyer right away and sent over the forged signature. But the HOA still demanded to go to court, and it took 7 months before that happened. Meanwhile, they were stacking unpaid fines against me weekly and were threatening to put a lien on my house. Well, HOAs will do that if they're not getting paid after a while. All this bullshit this guy's going through. She's the one that ruined the marriage. You all heard it. 3 affairs. Got pregnant with the freaking one of the affair partners' baby. And he's the bad guy. Now he's going through all this poor bastard. When I went to court, the HOA president looked very smug. but my lawyer pointed out how the signature wasn't the same as mine, and was very inconsistent in the various forms. I never allowed the HOA president in my house, and I never requested the forms. The idiot HOA president actually slammed her palm on the table and said it was still binding. But when pressed where the fraudulent signature came from, she admitted that my ex-wife called the HOA and sent her the forms. Then they got them back in the mail signed. Oh, the wife did them. When this guy bought the house, he and his ex were divorced. She never had anything to do with this house. So why are they accepting things from the wife? But then she actually claimed that she thought I'd signed them. The judge looked at her and asked if she was serious. She confirmed she was. The judge then asked how a woman I was no longer married to, that had never ever lived with me in my current residence, was supposed to have any bearing on whether or not I joined the HOA. There you go. Thank God this guy has a judge, presiding over this that actually has a fucking brain. She went quiet. I could see the oh shit look on her face as the hamster wheels were turning, and she seemed to finally mentally put the pieces together. You're in deep shit now, Madam President. My lawyer then counterclaimed that what the HOA did was blatant fraud and legal actions must be taken. You bet your ass. And they were. I countersued the HOA for the emotional distress of the harassment I'd gotten since moving in, which I had lots of proof of. That won me around $10,000 after lawyer's fees that I decided to put towards my mortgage. The HOA president was removed from her throne. I like to think she was kicking and screaming. She was also slapped with a hefty fine. I've seen her outside a few times, and she always looks at me like I'm the devil. The HOA itself had to pay for all my legal fees as well. Well, the sad thing is if I'm not mistaken, his winnings he got in that judgment for that lawsuit is going to come from, obviously, the HOA, the fund that they collect from all their members there. So the residents there are going to have to pay for the board's fuck up. Now you could say, well, the residents elected the people on the board of the HOA, and we can go round for round on that, but still. And I love that this HOA president was fired. But yeah, he should have gotten more, frankly. I wanted to go after my ex for forging my signature, but can't because not long after she forged my signature on those forms, she apparently left the country to be with her third affair partner. She's somewhere in Europe, from what I can see of the final post on her Facebook, before she disappeared. So I cannot do anything against her unless she ever returns to the United States. So that's a wash. I'm not getting letters from the HOA anymore, though, and the president has promised to keep things completely cordial from now on. I still don't feel like I got much of a win on this, though. Other than the $10,000 payout, it all felt like a huge waste of time. This guy should have gotten way more, but he probably wanted to have this over and done with. And that's good. They have a new president, and people probably learn, don't fuck with this guy. One thing that's good about HOAs, and there's lots of them here in Florida, and I'm living in one too, but they have a good reputation. A lot of people have learned that they can fight back against HOAs. There are lawyers that specialize in fighting tyrannical HOA. So if you guys are in an HOA and there's any bullshit, remember, you can hire attorneys. Yes, it's going to cost you money, but if they're doing something illegal, you could probably, hopefully get some damages out of that. But anyhow, yeah, HOAs can be tyrants. So that's the end of his part 1. And now we're going to go on to the update 2 freaking years later, because guess what, eventually, as you all know when it comes to the gals, they always come back when things get difficult, except she comes back to the U.S., she's going to be arrested. And you're going to love to see how this whole thing plays out. So, 2 years later, he says, the wheel turns, but the hamster is long dead. That's the best way to describe the stupidity of my ex-wife and her parents. My ex was dumb enough to come back to the U.S., even though there were fraud charges waiting for her here. So to give a quick recap, I posted a couple years ago about how my ex forged my signature on HOA forms to try and F me over from divorcing her. And then she ran off to Europe to avoid charges before I had a chance to file them. Even her social media went dark. So I figured she left for good. However, her affair partner who knocked her eventually kicked her and the kid out. He was probably married. Now I feel bad for that kid, but she got what she deserved. Then they came back to the United States after my egg begged her parents to buy them tickets to come home. I guess the affair partner just wanted her as a side piece that he could toss out like a used doll once he was done with her. Couldn't happen to a nicer girl. Again, I just feel bad for that kid. I kind of don't blame him for kicking her out because she's evil. But at the same time, he booted out his own kid too. If that was what he intended to do from the start, he's just one of those worst kinds of people. Well, like attracts like. The fraud case was obviously still open against my ex, and she got arrested not long after coming back to the country because her passport was flagged, and the police were there to arrest her on landing. Imagine that, she's getting off the plane, has no idea, and boom. Now hold that. I guess the kid's 2 years old at this point, but that poor kid, because she's getting arrested, and they grabbed the kid, When I finally saw her in court, she looked very different. She put on weight, she couldn't dye her hair or cake her face and makeup anymore, and there was just an aura of defeat about her. Tough shit, asshole. Not long after she was arrested, her parents showed up at my house and pleaded with me to drop any charges I could, and then even had the audacity to ask me to take my ex back. Yeah, okay, because she was such a wonderful wife. I don't know how at this point, I know you said that after the whole fiasco before you had video cameras and alarms and surveillance equipment put on your property. At this point, I don't know how you don't have freaking like a trap door in the front of the doorstep or barbed wire or a freaking pet dragon there to keep people away, because everybody keeps coming to your house, man. God almighty. Of course, I refused, but it was in one ear out the other with them. I visited my ex in jail only once because her parents hounded me for weeks, and she put on the same kind of pitiful, I love you, feel sorry for me crap when I first confronted her with the evidence of her infidelity. You went to see her in fucking jail? Smack! They wore you down that much, her parents? Now they're thinking, if we wore him down to do this, we can wear him down to do something else. You had no reason to go see her. Unless you're going to be like, ha ha ha, asshole, how's the food? I told her she couldn't be serious after the crap she pulled, and she never really loved me. She cheated on me with 3 men that I knew of, and the possibility of more. She got pregnant by another man, had no remorse about how she destroyed our marriage, and she maliciously tried to defame me. And she illegally signed me up for an HOA by forging my signature. And for the cherry on top, she ran away to another country like the pathetic cowardly bee she is. And she somehow hoped I would take her back after that. What's the saying? Bees be crazy. I'm minimizing my bad language here, guys, for obvious reasons. Well, she's nuts. She's a narcissist. She's a sociopath, and she thinks you're weak enough and dumb enough to take her back. Well, that was enough to make her see that she had zero chance of manipulating me. Even if hell froze over, I'd not take this woman back anyway. Her parents also couldn't really argue with my reasoning, other than they repeatedly saying that she's their only daughter and the mother of their only grandchild. Her mother kept crying that my ex could change. I said she could change without me. I'm done with her. Amen. And she's not going to change. Now, I get the parents. They're seeing their daughter arrested and in jail and probably going to get some prison time. I get they're emotional and all that. But still, look what she's done to him. Then they tried the stupidest thing yet. Oh, goody. What's next? They told me and my ex and I were still married in the eyes of God. Oh, here we go. And that I have to help her because it's the Christian thing to do. Really, I don't recall his scenario playing out in the Bible. And if I'm not mistaken, Jesus said basically encourage forgiveness, but doesn't mean you have to forget and keep taking people back in your life that are going to harm you. I asked them what the Bible said about infidelity if they're going to bring religion into it, and they shut up. I then slammed the door in their faces. If I'm not mistaken, from the religious perspective, infidelity is grounds for divorce. They still hounded me till I called the police on them and then got my lawyer to send a cease and desist to my ex's parents to stop trying to contact me, or had filed charges against them too. Amen. They forced your hand. That finally stopped them. But I do kind of wonder if they try to pursue child support from the father of my ex's kid, since they are stuck raising them now. If that's even possible. What will the father of being in a different country and on the move, a lot from what I've heard. Who knows? But at the end of the day, not your problem. My ex could not be bailed out of jail by her parents because she was denied that option since already being guilty of fleeing one time. And even if she did have a set bail, I bet that would have been so high. There's no way her parents could have paid for it. My ex originally pled not guilty, but I think her lawyer convinced her to change to guilty for a lesser sentence. Here we go. Now we're going to find out about what happened to her. The only problem for her was the judge presiding over the trial was a real hard ass. And he charged my ex with felony fraud for forging my signature and mailing it. as well as knowingly fleeing the country to avoid charges. She got hit with a decent sentence of nearly a decade behind bars, no parole. Could happen to a nicer girl. She broke down sobbing on the floor, and she had to be dragged out. I will not miss her. He says by the time she gets out of prison, she'll be 42 years old. She brought this on herself. I think justice was served. I wasn't ecstatic about her or anything because I emotionally moved on from that woman a long time ago. And I've become happier because I've been dating a great woman in the past 6 months. She's a single mom and works as a clerk. Smack! So, I really hope the stereotype is different in this situation for this guy. But you know the odds here about, the single moms. God, if he goes from one wacko to another one, oh my God. I really hope for this guy that this gal he's dating is an exception. I really do. Honestly, I already think I'm in love with her more than I ever did my ex. Smack! Oh, and that's going to cause you some problems because you're going to do some dumbass shit again. Her son seems to like me too. His own dad is someone I haven't heard great things about. Imagine that. A ex-wife saying bad things about their husband. I would do some digging to see if that's true or not. If you're going to see her, dude, take your time. But already you're saying, I think I love her more than my ex. Bro, you are setting yourself up for a lot of problems. Oh, my God. If anyone is still wondering about the HOA, they've kept their promise and left me alone. But I've heard that behind closed doors, the old board that were all inevitably replaced hate my guts because I basically started their downfall. They brought that on themselves. But of course, they want to blame him. Yes, the entire board was eventually replaced, and the new board are running things far better now. Fines nearly stopped, monthly dues were lowered, several rules removed from the CCNRs, and the street has been a happier place for a year now. Well, that's good to hear. Now, there's a balance with these HOAs. They got to keep order, but then they don't need to become tyrants. So there you go, guys. A great story about justice being served, but I didn't like that part about him falling in love more than his ex with this now single MOM. I hope that she is an exception. She's not like the stories I cover, but statistically, ain't gonna go too well. But I have my fingers crossed for this guy. Anyhow, this is a good story, and I definitely enjoyed covering this. Justice was served on her and those HOA a-holes. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you find a good story, definitely email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give us some time to get to it, and I definitely will. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.